1 Timothy 1 and 19, and Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to thy own understanding, but in all the ways acknowledge the Lord, and he will direct thy path. And then in 1 Timothy, he says, hold fast to your faith. Keep it and keep confidence in it. And we talked about today at Pace Temple, we talked about who are you leaning on? Who are you leaning on? Some people are leaning on money, on finance, and on influence and power. Others are leaning on prestige, and others are leaning on stocks and commodities. But what you're leaning on ought to determine how you're going to react. And I want to tell you today that you need to check what you're going to lean on before you need it. Then to need it and discover it won't hold you up. And so we talked about today, there are 4 things that you need to know. First of all, there is a purpose for your faith. There's a purpose for your faith. Your faith is not there as something that holds like a spare tire somewhere, but your faith is there to show and to strengthen and to fortify and to lengthen you. James said, stir up the gift that is in you. And then it also says to us that through the trying of your faith, work of patience, let patience have its perfect weight. And so some of us want more faith, but we don't want to be stretched. We don't want God to push us to the limit. The Bible says the just shall live by faith. Now, I got to tell you, extraordinary people are ordinary people with an extra amount of determination. And if you want God to do some extraordinary things for you, you're going to have to increase your faith. Increasing your faith comes by feeding your faith, exercising your faith. I was sharing with our congregation that I used to work out and run and lift weights. And you lift weights to get stronger, but now when you want to be consistent and build up, you got to do more reps. You got to do more reps in order to get bigger and stronger. And the same thing is applicable and applies with your faith. You want God to do some new stuff, you got to become comfortable with the stuff you're supposed to do. You want increase from God, you got to sow a seed to get the increase. That is the purpose for your faith. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That word life, that word zoe, is to be more abundant. That means that he's going to give you, he said, I come that you would be in good health and that you would prosper as your soul prospers. He's not worried about the outer you, he's worried about the inner you, that your soul might prosper. And so the first thing you need to know, there's a purpose for your faith. Then, not only is there a purpose for your faith, there is power that comes with your faith. There's power. God will strengthen you. He will lift you up. He will encourage you. He will fortify you. That's why Isaiah talks about it. And then in the psalmist, he tells us that we walk by faith and not by sight. And if you're going to make it through this pandemic, through these hard times, through this economic crisis, through this tumultuous trials and tribulations, you're going to have have power to your faith. Not lip service, but life service. And you're going to have power to your faith. Now, I got to tell you, the Bible's filled with people who had faith, from the Abrahamic to the Davidic to the Solomonic days and the Noahic days. But one thing they all had in common was that they trusted God. They had confidence in God that not only he could, but that he would. Not only that he could, but that he would. And so I want to tell you that not only do you need the purpose of your faith, you need the power of your faith. The Bible says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can speak to a mountain and say, move from here to there, and the mountain will move. But now, you cannot get a favor from God if you're wavering in your faith. And so you got to have confidence, assurance, alliance that God will do and perform what he said he would do. That's why the writer says, that I have committed unto him, he is able to keep until that day. Then not only do you need the power and do you need the purpose of God, but then I just got to tell you that sometimes on this journey, you need the peace of God. Have I got a witness in here? You need peace. God says he will give us peace that surpasses all understanding. He'll give you peace. And one thing about peace, peace will show up even when you don't know how to handle it. When people think you ought to be wringing your hand, when you ought to be going through transitions and changes, God will give you peace. He says, I will give you perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him. Now listen to what the text says. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. Trust in the Lord in all your ways, with all your heart, with all your mind and strength. And lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. You got to trust God even when you can't trace him. Somebody ought to help me right there. Sometimes you can't feel so anointed. You won't feel so powerful. You won't feel so holy. You won't feel like that you're arised and anointed from God. But you still got to trust him. You got to trust him when you can't trace him. Sometimes you wonder where he is, what's he doing, and why he's not with you, and you don't feel him walking with you. But I hear the psalmist said, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and that does he meditate day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, and whatever he doeth shall prosper and bring forth much fruit. But you got to trust God. I hear David saying in Psalms 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Of whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies, encamped all around me, they stumbled and fell. Though a host shall come against me, in thee will I be confident. You got to have confidence in God. And then I want to tell you,
finally,
no matter what's going on in your life, you can trust that God will take care of you.
Album or playlist you want, when you want. All you have to do is type what you want to hear into search, press play, and watch a short video ad. That's it. Get back to listening the way you want with premium access. Try it now. When you awaken to a fresh day, you deserve